In this movie, I'll walk you through every single one of the 23 harmony rules that's available from the color guide panel. And just to make things a little bit easier to process, I'll divide them into 10 groups. Because notice if I click on this down pointing arrowhead in the top right corner of the color guide panel, we'll see this pop-up menu labeled harmony rules that begins with complementary and ends with pentagram. Now, pentagram happens to be the only one with a single variation, which is why it amounts to a unique group, whereas high contrast, as you can see here, has 4 variations, making it one group as well. And so let's see how that works. Now, just to make things clear, I'm identifying the color of this compass rose here inside Photoshop. And so I'll go ahead and advance to the next layer comp, and you can see that the blue of the compass rose exists down here in the bottom left region of the lab color wheel, which makes it our base color. And the base color, by the way, is identified by a big circle on a kind of radial hinge right here that goes to the center of the color wheel. All right, now we're going to move through every one of these color harmonies that are listed in the order they appear in the pop-up menu, but we're going to cover them in a more logical order, starting with the tetrads, which include tetrad implication being 1, as well as 2 and 3. What we're seeing right here is tetrad 2, as I've listed in the top left corner of the slide. Now, by tetrad, it means 4. So we're going off from the center in 4 different directions. They're not quite exactly 90 degrees, but they are roughly perpendicular, as you can see right here. And then, because we're looking at tetrad 2, we get an extra darker version of the base color as well. And so imagine if I was to drag this base color around the circle, that all these other colors would move as well because they are hinged together according to this specific harmony rule. Now, just as tetrad represents not necessarily 4 colors, but 4 different directions, triad represents 3 different directions. So in the case of triad 2 right here, we have a total of 5 colors because we have the base color, a darker version, and then a darker version of one of the colors in a different direction as well. Next, we have complementary, which includes 2 varieties, both of which feature darker and brighter versions of the base color, as well as at least 2 colors going off in the opposite direction. What we're seeing right now is complementary 2, which includes this additional 6th color right here. And again, if you were to drag this base color around, all the other colors would move as well. And they're not only going to move around the circle, but they're going to move in and out as well. So if you drag the base color out, you're going to get more saturated colors because as the hinge for the base color extends, so do the hinges for the complementary colors. If you move it in to create a less saturated base color, you'll end up with less saturated complementary colors, and the same goes for brighter and darker base colors as well. All right, next we've got the complements, and they include left complement, right complement, and split complementary. Currently, we're seeing left complement. Now, obviously, these colors are hinging down and to the right, so they're not moving to the left. They're really moving in a clockwise direction. So left complement means that the complementary colors are moving clockwise. Right complement means that the complementary colors are moving counterclockwise. Split complement is going to give you 2 colors off in both a clockwise and counterclockwise direction. All right, next we've got analogous, in which all the colors are moving in roughly the same direction as we see here. And the difference between analogous, which we're seeing currently, and analogous 2 is the degree to which these colors verge from the base color. Next, we've got monochromatic, which includes monochromatic 2 and shades. And in both the cases of the monochromatics, the colors are moving in the same direction and we're seeing different saturation levels. In the case of shades, we would see different levels of luminance. The compounds, 1 and 2, are a combination of analogous and complementary, hence compound, more than one thing, working together. And so as you can see, we've got a base color as well as a couple of analogous variations, and then we've got a complementary color as well as some analogous variations of that. All right, now our second to last group is high contrast, which is what it sounds like. We get a bunch of high contrast variations, that is big variations in saturation as well as luminance. And the directions that these colors go varies from one version of high contrast to the next. And then finally, we have pentagram, in which the colors go off in 5 different directions. And again, if I was to drag the base color out, I would increase the saturation of all the colors. If I moved it in, I would decrease the saturation. If I dragged it around, then I would get totally different hues. And if I darkened or brightened the base color, I would darken and brighten the variations as well. And that's how you work with every single one of the 23 harmony rules, which divide into 10 basic groups inside Illustrator.